this is Vin Shumbury, the president of WOWzer Technologies, and today I want to talk about something that's really important to the business. It's a fundamental asset, and it's the number one on your balance sheet. It's called the cash. And I hear this statement from a lot of business people, and I've heard it for many years, especially a small business person. Hey, my business is profitable. Where's the cash? It's almost like they have no idea. In a lot of cases, they really don't. So I'm going to point out some things to you today that will help you to understand. The first and foremost, as the business owner, you've got to limit the amount of money you take out for personal reasons. That I find is the number one reason that there's lack of cash. You know, think of your business as a baby. Would you take milk from the baby? Well, if your business is the baby, cash is like the milk to that business. And the last thing you want to be doing is taking too much for personal reasons. Does that mean you can't take any out? No, of course not. Actually, you should have an amount that you can take out from the business for personal reasons. But that's it. And they should be what? They should be certain amounts at maybe once or twice a month, depending on how it works for you. I would suggest twice a month, where you know X number of dollars and not above what you really need. Because remember, that cash is like milk to the baby. It nourishes the baby, and the cash nourishes the business. Take out what you need, bare minimums, so that you know what you can plan for the future later. If you allow that to happen, if you allow the business to thrive, you will eventually thrive as well. And it's very important that you do that. And you shouldn't take any monies out, anywhere during along the way, unless, it's something that's business related, but for personal reasons, absolutely not. That's the number one reason that you don't have the cash. So do yourself a favor, do the business a favor, give it a chance to not just survive, but thrive. The second one, another topic I want to talk about, is you've done all that work, and you know what, you've made your customers happy, but over a period of time, you actually don't like to do certain things. And that is, you don't like doing the paperwork, and therefore your invoicing falls behind. I know what that's like. It's so important that you stay ahead of that. There's nothing more frustrating for yourself than to have done all the work, but you don't have the money. Because an accounts receivable, okay, and that means creating an invoice, is still not cashing your business. So first thing is you got to write out the invoice, but you got to make sure that it comes in as well. And if you have clients that tend to delay or they don't pay, I suggest you do the one thing that I've done, and that is you get them to pay ahead of time. Sure, you know what? You want to let them know when there's an issue to hopefully be able to tell you what's going on. You can work with people like that, but there are some customers that, they just have a propensity for that. My suggestion to you is that you get the money up front so you don't have this issue, okay? And stay vigilant with your accounts receivable as well. It's so important, because at the end of the day, there are people who pay, but there's some individuals who don't unless you ask. So guess what? You gotta ask. So if you've done the work, go and ask. Make sure you have regular follow-ups and be aware of what's going on. So not only your accounts receivable, but also know what it is that's going to go out as well that you have to pay. It seems that in a lot of businesses, what I find is they seem to have people calling them to pay them, but you're not calling your people, your customers, and making sure that you're getting your monies as well. So if I go back to the cycle, what is the cycle? The cycle is simply this, is to make sure that when the work is done, you bill. And you make sure that your customers get that bill and you follow up. And if there is a propensity for those same customers not getting back to you, get them to pay in advance. I've done that. You say, but Vince, you know what? If I do that, I may lose them. Well, you're not getting paid, so what's the problem? Let's be honest about it. I've lost customers like that. I don't want them. That's the truth. If I have to pull on them to pay me after all the work that I've done, and not to mention I've had to pay other people for their services. So we're not a bank. What we are is a service provider, and when we provide service, you should expect to be paid. Period. I expect to be paid. It's as simple as that. Now, if I don't go out there and invoice them, that's not their fault, that's mine. So therefore, I also have to make sure that I invoice them, and I have to make sure that I collect. And if they don't come and tell you that they have their issues. Some people, you know what? They're embarrassed to tell you they have financial problems. Call them up and let them know. Are you having any issues? I've done that as well. Guess what you find out? Some cases that they are. Work something out with them, especially those that are willing to do that. But those who keep doing it and delaying you and so on, my suggestion is, from my own experience, they don't pay you ahead of time, don't take the business. Period. End of story. And I've had to do that. The other thing that, I find that's another issue, and I've also done this too, and I've also corrected it as well, is that you collect all that money, right? And you don't put enough money aside for taxes. That is sales tax and corporate income tax, especially if you know you've made money. You should always put money aside to take care of that. My suggestion is that you actually, instead of putting it aside, and I have heard a lot of financial advisors tell you not to do this, but this is what I do. I pay installments on purpose. So therefore, you know what? Once it's with the taxing authorities, I don't have to think about it at all. But Vince, you could earn percentage points and so on. If you have an issue not paying for whatever reason, then just pay it in installments to the federal government. If that is something that you don't have an issue with, that you can actually do that, then by all means, keep it with you. Either one works well, as long as the installments are either put aside or paid and you don't touch them if you put them aside. That's really important, because the last thing you want is a surprise. Here's another thing as well. You may have had an excessive sale for some reason. So for 1 month, your sales went skyrocketed. You had some kind of contract or some opportunity come along. That is not the time for you to go in and take some extra money out and put it in your pocket. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take anything, but what I'm saying is don't be excessive. Again, you do not want to drain the business of the most important thing that it has, and that is cash. If you ever looked at the balance sheet, the first thing on the balance sheet in assets is what? Cash. That should give you a hint that it is the number one thing. So be very vigilant. Pretend that you know what? It's like money that's important to you, and you wouldn't let anybody else touch it. In other words, you are a security guard. I hate to say it that way, but sometimes maybe I need to say that. And don't be the person that takes it. Because guess what? You're the one who's in charge of it. And it's important to know who you're going to pay out, especially the government. That's the last people you want not to be paying. Because if you don't pay them and they've come to you and sent you letters and called you and you don't, guess what they can do? They can garnish your account. You know what that means? That means that you won't be able to do any business because they'll take the money first. And then to get your status back, it's really, really hard. Now, that's a long way off, obviously. But I wanted to make you aware of these things. So in saying these are the things that I want you to think about. Yes, you have a profitable business, but you don't have cash. Look at these 3 areas. Number 1, are you taking more than you really need for your personal reasons? Because if you're enjoying it now and you're not delaying your gratification, you won't have anything to go to later. There will be no business if you keep doing that. It's better to what? To put the money aside, live within your means, delay your gratification, and then enjoy it later. Number 2 is when you do work, invoice. And when you invoice, if it's not being collected after a certain period of time, then guess what? Go and ask for the money. And if that doesn't work, and it keeps happening, collect your money in advance. Okay? And the third one is make sure you put money aside for the monies that you owe for sales tax and for corporate income taxes to the taxing authorities. Now, all of these things, a lot of this can be done automatically as opposed to manually, okay? Because technology is there as well. This is something that we specialize in as well. And if you have questions about these things, please contact me. I'd be happy to help you. And you should look at ways to minimize your administrative tasks, especially the second one when I talked about invoicing and so on. Do you know that there's a lot of technology out there that can help you? If not, by all means, ask us about it. Ask me about it. I'd be happy to help you. I hope you have a great day. I hope this has helped. I hope that you understand that just making a profit without knowing where your cash is or where it's going is not going to help you. Have a great day. I look forward to hearing from you soon. God bless, and ciao for now.